4570, the only government you can trust. That popular saying of unknown origin rings just as true today as it did decades ago when the phrase was put out there. Mainly because you shouldn't really trust any government. The moral of that anecdote is that people lie, but bullets don't. With that in mind, I'll attempt to cut through the lies and look at the truth of the 4570. Spending a lot of time in my youth with my grandfather in Idaho, the 4570 was actually bantered about a lot. People back then considered the 4570 to be something mythical, something way too big for deer and more suitable for a charging grizzly bear or a bison or a moose. Old timers back then would spin yarns of deer being lifted off their feet and thrown back 5 feet after getting hit with a 405 grain thumper. In the minds of those men, no standard bottleneck rifle cartridge was as powerful as the trusty old 4570. In fact, in those days, most backcountry guides and trappers carried a 4570 on them. But as time went on, the 4570 gradually started falling from favor and is reduced to somewhat of a cult following today. As a matter of fact, those same types of people who used to carry the 4570 now carry a 338 Win Mag or even a 375 H&H for the same role instead. In this video, I'll explain why this cartridge fell from popularity and why I consider it to be one of the most overrated cartridges of all time. Back in the day, people didn't have chronographs or ballistic calculators, and they thought that the bigger the bullet was, or the more recoil a cartridge had, the deadlier that cartridge was going to be. And from a pure reasoning standpoint, that conclusion kind of makes sense. But as soon as hunters started examining real ballistics, the ugly truth about the 4570 was revealed. Pretty much the standard 30-06 with a common 180 grain bullet was actually much better and more powerful than the 4570 ever was. And even today, with modern powders and stronger firearms to shoot them in, the standard 4570 load, even today, has much less muzzle energy than the old 30-06 does, shooting a 180 grain projectile. Even a 4570 loaded to its top magnum lever gun power levels will only have the muzzle energy of a 300 Winchester Magnum. That's right. A hot load of 4570 in a lever gun has 30 caliber muzzle energy. Sure, you can definitely get a little bit more performance out of a single shot Ruger number 1, but you might as well shoot a better cartridge if you're going to do that, or you're going to go that route. And, personally for hunting, why would you limit yourself to one shot anyway? Every time a 4570 guy spouts off some crazy velocity to me, it's always something that can't be used in a lever gun. And to make matters worse, energy falls off drastically with the 4570 as soon as the bullet leaves the muzzle. So what little energy the 4570 has out of the muzzle, it doesn't really carry it downrange. But surely the 4570 has mythical penetration on game, right? Because of that heavy bullet. Well, in truth, the 400 grain 458 bullets and the 180 grain 30 caliber bullets have the exact same sectional density. So there's using the same bullet type, there's really no penetration advantage to the 4570 and just a normal, 30 caliber hunting round. And, what about this mythical brush busting ability of the 4570? We always hear that argument. Well, my friends, the entire brush busting concept is a myth. In fact, in many tests, big slow bullets actually deflected worse than light fast bullets. So the whole concept of brush busting, the brush busting bullets, has been disproven repeatedly. But even today, people have this false impression of what the 4570 really is and continue to believe that the 4570 is some powerful big bore thumper. In a lever gun, the 4570 is no more powerful than your typical 30 caliber hunting cartridge, but it has more recoil and it suffers from a crappy rainbow-like trajectory, which severely limits hunting opportunities with this cartridge. In the same way that the 6.5 Creedmoor guys live in some fantasy land where they think they're a special forces snipers, 4570 guys live in a fantasy where they're big bore African dangerous game hunters. You see, they watch Jurassic World and see Chris Pratt riding dinosaurs with the 4570, and that becomes a reality to them. I actually did this video because my email is constantly getting saturated with people talking about bringing a 4570 to Africa for buffalo and elephant hunts. And, I don't care what you've heard on the internet, your Marlin 1895 and 4570 is not ethical for dangerous game in Africa. And outside of the high fenced game farms, it's not even legal in most places. One of the most common myths I hear about the 4570 is that it was the preferred bison or buffalo cartridge back in the day. But in reality, this isn't true. Most of the buffalo were dead by the time the 4570 was invented. And the 4570 became commercially available the same year that buffalo became federally protected in the United States. So no, frontiersmen were not running around the prairie slaughtering buffalo with the 4570. That's a myth. And knowing the truth, we can stop pretending that it's something it isn't. Let's concentrate on the true utility of the 4570. First of all, it's hella fun to shoot. That firm jab into the shoulder and that crisp ring of swinging steel on target will bring a smile to anyone's face, especially quick shooting out of a lever gun. And basking in the history and nostalgia of this old warrior brings up thoughts of military trapdoors and the last cowboys taming the Wild West. So shooting the 4570 is fun, and there's no denying that. I actually also cut my teeth into the cast bullet world with the 4570. So a lot of the cast bullet guys, the 4570 is like a dream come true to them. Also the compact profile of a lever gun itself makes them perfect for having quick access to a rifle on horseback. And, if you want power in a short, manageable lever action round, the 4570 is probably your best option. The true useful utility of the 4570 really isn't the cartridge itself. It's the platform that the cartridge uses. So lever action rifles still have a lot of utility in some circumstances. And sometimes shooters are just more comfortable and prefer to use a lever gun over something like a bolt action. If you want or need a short, handy lever action rifle chambered in a common cartridge that'll protect you from a bear, the 4570 really is your best option. Also, some states only allowed straight wall cartridges for big game hunting, and the 4570 was the best thing available for that. So those straight wall cartridge laws that were passed in some states made the 4570 a sensible choice for deer hunting and spawned a market for those lighter, faster bullets. And those lighter, faster bullets finally had the velocity to reliably expand monometal bullets. So that was kind of a game changer for the 4570. I'm fully aware that this video is going to ruffle some feathers, but I hope that before posting your negative remarks, you actually review the ballistics of the 4570 in a lever gun compared to other common hunting rifle cartridges. Sure, it has a large bullet diameter going for it, which is definitely a plus in my opinion, but it really isn't driving those big bullets fast enough out of a lever gun to matter. You know, in my opinion, the only place the 4570 shines is with the really light 225 and 250 grain bullets. But then again, you're better off with a 35 Whelen or a 338 Win Mag in that bullet weight. So, you know, even those lighter weights have a lot of drawbacks to them, especially in the penetration department. You know, I still enjoy going out and ringing steel with my 4570 sometimes, but as a hunting cartridge, I find the 4570 to be underwhelming. In my educated opinion, the 4570 is the most overrated cartridge in use today, and quite possibly the most overrated cartridge of all time.